ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਈਨੇਜ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੈ, ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਈਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੈ, ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਸਾਈਨੇਜ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦਾ ਫਲੈਗ ਵੀ ਜਲਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਾਰ। ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਪੈਟਰਿਕ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਹੈ, ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਪੁੱਛਾਂਗੇ ਕੀ ਫਾਈਨ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੋਏ ਹੈ, ਕੀ ਆ ਫਰੀडम ਹੈ, ਕੀ ਫਰੀडम ਆਫ ਸਪੀਚ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਕੋਈ ਲਿਮਿਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ, ਕੋਈ ਬਾਉਂਡਰੀਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ। ਪੈਟਰਿਕ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਕੋਲ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ। ਪੈਟਰਿਕ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ।
Always good to be with Prime Asia.
Patrick, community members, the Canadians, the residents of Brampton, they asked the same question. Today night also, the sign in the Gita Park was vandalized. And it's not once, it's repeatedly again and again. What City of Brampton is doing?
So let me say, first of all, I was so proud to move the motion to have a Sri Bhagavad Gita Park. You know, we're a mosaic of faith communities in Brampton and we stick up for each other. So when I saw that park sign defaced, I was outraged. That should not happen in our city. Within hours, our city staff were there to remove the vandalism of the sign. We've referred the matter to the Peel Police, and let me be clear: there'll be zero tolerance in our city for intimidation against any faith community. And whether it's Guru Nanak Drive, whether it's Masjid Drive, whether it is Sir Bhagavad Gita Park, I don't want to ever see any of our faith communities targeted with vandalism or violence or intimidation in our city. And I know our Chief of Police, Nishan Dirappa, shares the same zero tolerance approach.
Patrick, do you think that laws are so weak or so soft that there should be a limit for the freedom of speech? It's allowed in Canada, but burning any country's flag or these kind of hooliganism which we see on the streets, is that allowed, or what is your personal opinion, or as a mayor?
So, you know, I don't want to get into a federal debate, but that is protected under the charter. And, you know, I never want to see the Canadian flag burned, but our free speech laws allow a broad degree of discretion when it comes to free speech. But I would encourage every community to be respectful of each other. We should all strive for harmony. And so while I will always defend the foundational principles around free speech, I encourage every community to show each other respect.
So do you believe that there should be a changes in the free speech laws federally, because there should be a limit, because after that that should be considered as a crime?
Well, I support the Canadian Charter. It's up to the courts to interpret the Charter, and right now they've made an interpretation. You know, right now in Brampton, I'm doing my best to bring communities together and encouraging everyone to be respectful. I'm certainly not going to start giving constitutional opinions.
Do you condemn these, what all is happening in Brampton? Do you condemn those things when we see the communities are being targeted, even mosques were being targeted, temples were being vandalized, target again and again? Do you condemn that thing?
So I don't support any community facing violence, intimidation. It's wrong, and we don't condone it in Brampton. And I've been very clear that we protect religious freedom. And if any faith group feels they're a target of intimidation, we don't stand for it. You know, when we had a number of Mundirs that faced vandalism, I held a press conference in Brampton to denounce it with senior members of the Peel Police. When we saw some burglaries earlier the year before, our chief of police immediately took it very seriously, and the individuals were responsible were apprehended. So if you commit heinous acts in our community, be warned, you will be caught and you will be held accountable. And I'm going to continue as mayor to do everything I can to bring the community together.
There was also a float on Brampton roads in which it was portrayed the ex-Prime Minister of India who has been killed, and that was being portrayed in the streets of Brampton. Being a mayor, responsibility lies on the shoulders of a mayor or a police chief. What you'll say on that?
Well, as you know, we've talked about this before on Prime Asia, and I certainly don't ever support any glorification of violence. It's highly inappropriate.
Do you condemn the Air India bombing, the Kanishka bombing? Thousands, hundreds of people got killed in that.
Of course, that's one of the worst acts of terrorism that we have seen. It's the reason we, you know, every year, you know, in Brampton, we remember the International Day against terrorism. And on many occasions, I've attended the Air India Memorial during that day. You know, it's just absolutely horrifying.
And yesterday night, the Gita Park, the signage was vandalized. And in the end, how can community trust you, that they feel safe, the freedom of expression on their religions? How can you make sure to the residents your message?
Well, my message to residents is you're going to see no city more aggressive in protecting religious freedom than the city of Brampton. It's why we led the charge against Bill 21 in Quebec, which prohibited the niqab and any article of faith, from a turban to a yarmulke. We don't tolerate that. We stand up for religious freedom in our city, and if it is a gurdwara, whether it's a masjid, whether it's a mandir, any faith community, whether it's a church that faces intimidation or violence, will be the first to denounce. And I know our chief of police, Nishan Derapa, shares the same sentiments, that there must be zero tolerance for such vile conduct. Let's stick together as a city. Let's stick together as a country, and do everything we can to show our neighbors respect.
So anybody got caught on these incidents which happened yesterday night?
So we first learned about the incidents this morning. The city staff were sent out to immediately clean the sign. It's now cleaned within hours. So, you see, this sends a message too. If you deface one of our signs and it gets fixed almost within hours, it shows that you just wasted your time, because the city of Brampton doesn't stand for it. When we had the burglaries at the Hindu mandirs, the police did apprehend and arrest the individuals responsible for the events we learned about this morning. We don't know who is responsible yet, but whoever is, if there's video footage that we can ascertain to hold them accountable, vandalism is not something that will be tolerated in our city.
Is police investigating this?
It's been referred to the police.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
ਸੋ ਆ ਸੀਗੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਪੈਟਰਿਕ ਬਰਾਊਨ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੈ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ, ਸਾਡੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੀ ਸਟਰੀਟ ਸੇਫ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ 'ਚ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਕਿਉਂ ਵੱਧ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਬੀਇੰਗ ਅ ਮੇਅਰ ਉਹ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ। ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਵਾਲ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਸੁਣੇ। ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਮੈਂਟ ਰੂਪ 'ਚ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਔਰ ਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀ ਹਰ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਹੱਕ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਚਾਹਾਂਗੇ ਕਿ ਫਰੀडम ਆਫ ਸਪੀਚ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਲਿਮਿਟਸ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ, ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਲਿਮਿਟ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਫਰੀडम ਆਫ ਸਪੀਚ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਕਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ।